Hello everyone, welcome back to Edible Abundance Homestead. I'm Ginger and today is September 26th. So it's been a while. There's a couple reasons for that. The first one just being that we've been busy. The fall is kind of in full swing. My kids are in dance classes, so we've had dance 3 nights a week. Our homeschool co-ops have started up. A lot of the school year homeschool activities have gotten going. So we've just been out a lot. We've been out of the house a lot. I haven't spent a ton of time in the garden. That's the normal reason why. The problematic reason is that I've had a rabbit or rabbits basically eating all of the work that I've done for the past month or so. So I've been trying different methods to keep the rabbits out of my garden because the beets that I planted are mostly gone. The cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli that I planted is gone. All that's left is stems. I come out, I find a stem, all the leaves are just gone, completely gone. Most of the peas that I planted are gone. Again, just stems. So some of those things I'm hoping by keeping the rabbits out, some of them might bounce back. A lot of things I'm right now trying to replant. So to keep the rabbits out, the first thing we tried, if you can see here, see those shavings? That's Irish Spring soap. I had heard that works. I did it one evening and the next morning there was more rabbit damage. So I'm basically just saying, it might work, it might not. It might depend on the rabbits. It might depend on the area. It might depend on how hungry they are. It's not enough for us. So the next step, I got this netting. I don't know, that might be hard to see. This netting, and I've attached it to the electric poultry netting all the way around the entire garden. So now what I'm doing is I am turning on the electricity, plus I have that netting. Even with the electricity on, they will go through the fence. I've seen them jump through the fence with it turned on, and I know it was shocking. And I think it's just because they jump so well. If they're not touching the ground and the fence at the same time, they will not get shocked because you have to be completing the circuit, which means touching the ground and the fence at the same time. Plus the fact that if all that's touching is their fur is going to insulate them and they're not going to get shocked. So even when I reset the fence, and I know from experience that it was shocking pretty hard because I accidentally touched it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to affect the rabbits. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the netting inside the electric will help. I attached it to the inside because I'm hoping, so they could theoretically chew through this plastic netting, but I'm hoping if I have the power onto the fence that they would have to touch the electric fence in such a way to deter them if they're trying to chew through the netting. So we're gonna see what happens. At this point, I have given enough of my time to this problem and to my attempts to plant the fall garden that if this doesn't work, I'm kind of ready to just give up for the fall. I hate to do that, especially because there are a lot of fall crops that we really, really like and that I enjoy growing and that I really enjoy eating fresh from the garden, especially things like lettuces, beets and stuff for beet chips, kale. My kids love kale chips, all that stuff. Radishes, I'm planning to plant enough radishes to make batches of pickled radishes. My son likes pickled beets. We eat carrots, all that stuff. I really want to grow that stuff. So we'll see how this goes. It's been a kind of a depressing experience these past few weeks. So this is kind of my let's call it the last ditch effort, because I don't think there's much else I can do to keep the rabbits out of my garden without investing a lot of money into some different fencing. So that might be something to keep in mind, to add, next year in the spring or something, but it's not going to happen right now. So the massive radish area has been doing good. These are all radishes that reseeded themselves from plants I let go to seed. Doing good. I've been eating radishes out of here. A lot of them are a little small because they're so close together, and I've tried to kind of pull some and thin some, but I think they need to be thinned some more. But I've also gotten some good sized radishes. My fall cucumber plants are doing pretty terribly. They're just so diseased, and I've got a couple little cucumbers on there, but I've already had a couple of cucumbers, and there's some sort of a worm that's eating into the cucumbers before they're ready to even be picked. And the same thing is happening with my cucamelons. Now the cucamelons produce so many cucamelons that the worms don't get to all of them, but I definitely found that when I pick them, I have to make sure they're not a little squishy, because if they're a little squishy, it's because a little worm has hollowed it out inside there. So anyway, now fall squash has been amazing. I have probably 4 yellow squash in the house from the 3 plants that I've left. One of the plants got broken at the base. I think it must have been either a rabbit or some sort of larger animal knocked it over and just happened to break it. But so anyway, so I have 2 yellow squash plants, one over here and one over there. Especially the one over there is really prolific. It's probably got 2 squash about ready to be picked on it right now. Plus I have about 4 in the house. This zucchini plant, the green zucchini plant right here, hasn't produced, or might have produced 1 so far. Not doing quite as well. I'm gonna say 6 squash, plants that I planted, you know, at the end of the summer just to see how it went. I'm very happy with that. Here's the beets. The first clue to my rabbit problem, not the first clue, but the first clue that it was gonna be a big problem was that this big beet plant had started to get eaten. And as you can see, it's grown back a fair amount, so that's good. But I planted 3 rows of beets behind it. I can find maybe half a dozen beets left back there, and some of them are just stems. They don't even have the little leaves anymore. Same with the carrots. I felt like the carrots just didn't germinate very well. I don't know if the rabbits bothered them, but there are not very many baby carrots in there, and I planted easily several hundred carrot seeds, I think. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to reseed the beets and I'm going to reseed the carrots, and we're going to cross our fingers and hope for the best, because that's going to be sad. Now, one thing with the carrots, it has been pretty warm here, so it's possible that the seeds just haven't germinated because it's been so warm. So I might be accidentally planting more and ending up with 1,000 carrots. But if that happens, I'll just have to go through and thin them, you know. Let's see here. So peas on the trellises, like I said, not doing so good. There are still a few plants left, and a lot of them have just been nibbled to the ground. So I'm going to go through and reseed what I can. Some of them I don't have a whole lot of the seeds left, so it's going to probably end up being mixed trellises, which is unfortunate because a lot of these are varieties I've never tried before, and I would like to know which is which. So I might have to plan that out a little bit, and maybe the first 2 trellises are shelling peas, and that'll stay the same. And I think I have enough left of both of them to replant the whole trellises. The next trellis here is the purple potted peas, and also the Queen Anne sugar snap peas, something like that. Queen somebody sugar snap peas. I'm definitely out of the purple potted ones, and I don't have a ton of the others left. And I was hoping to save some of the purple ones for seed, and we'll see if that ends up happening or not, because there are a few plants left on there, but I don't know what they are, and I don't know if it's going to be enough. So I will replant it as best I can. And then this last one is another potted pea, and actually I might have enough. Really, the purple ones are the ones that I'm completely out of, and then the Queen Anne's, we're going to call them that, I don't know if that's right, are the ones I'm low on. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I'm going to replant it. I had broccoli and cabbage here, 4 little plants, and they are basically gone. I don't even think I see a stem left at this point. My zinnias are reseeding. I don't know if they'll make any flowers in time, but it's worth a shot. So then the last thing is the radishes, and I will flip you around and show you the radishes that I planted. Alright, so now I'm inside the fence so that I can show these radishes. So this first row here, that's the closest to the trellises, are white icicle radishes, and you can see where they've popped up. These I planted maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. They're awful small for 2 weeks. It must be more like 1 week. I planted them very nicely and neatly, and in very well spaced rows, and it took a really long time. Did the same thing with my French breakfast radishes here. These I planted maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and they have not germinated yet. Now, we have had no rain, and I have not had a chance to water. So these are probably a bit stunted from heat and lack of water. So just today, I planted these a row of sparkler radishes, a row of purple plum radishes, and a row of early scarlet globe radishes. Now, for these radishes, because time is not on my side, I just walked along the row and I just sprinkled down the row. And it's not neat, it's not pretty, but they're planted. And now what I need to do here is water, because nothing's gonna grow if I don't get some water. We haven't had we haven't had rain, gosh, I don't even know, a week or more. I watered really heavily when I first planted the peas and everything, which I think is why they kind of took off until they got eaten. But now it's been quite a while. It's been super dry, and so this needs to be watered by hand, and I just haven't had time to do it. So for the rest of the day today, here, let me talk. So in the next 30 minutes or so before we have to leave for dance class, I'm going to replant as many seeds as I possibly can. I'm just going to seed heavily. Probably not tonight, maybe tomorrow sometime. I'm really going to water everything really heavily. And then I'm just going to kind of hope for the best, and we'll see what happens. It's getting kind of late for planting a lot of these things. Beets, it's really a little late to be planting beets. Even the peas, it's kind of late, but so I'm just going to plant them and hope for the best. So we'll see how it goes. It's been really discouraging, like I said, but I'm still trying to be hopeful. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this fencing takes care of the problem. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I do have more broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower starts that are really, really small that have really not grown very well, which is why they haven't been put out. Eventually, I'm just gonna have to I'll just go ahead and plant them out, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, at this point, I'll be happy with just about anything that I manage to grow for the fall. So fingers crossed. Now, one thing that the rabbits haven't maybe found yet, or maybe they just ignore it because there's so much more in the garden. My oldest daughter, so this is a little flower box we have inside the play area. My oldest daughter planted kale. She planted lactinato kale, and it's come up really well. Now, my son stepped in a bunch of it, so there's a couple spots where you can see that he killed it. He, messed up the tiny little sprouts. But where he did not step, it's coming up really well. So I'm actually also planning to sprinkle some more kale seeds into this little bed that they have in their play area. Maybe the rabbits are ignoring it. Either that, or I'll keep the rabbits out of my garden and then they'll find this garden instead. Like I said, at this point, I'm just gonna take what I can get. So I'm gonna hurry up and toss out some more seeds before we have to leave again. So thank you so much for watching.